expecting it to be a fairly good night. I'm looking forward to seeing all the lads getting their reward for the tough year of training and dedication. Looking forward to seeing Dak getting his award, and fair play to all the rest of them who got them. Should be a good night, hopefully.
First and foremost, I suppose everyone goes out to win an All Ireland, and after I suppose a lovely honour after we win an to win an All Star, and I think anyone who has won an All Star through the years really appreciates it. It's you've been acknowledged as being a good footballer, and it's an absolutely great honour for the players.
It's great to come up to be nominated and all. It's just brilliant crack, looking at all these players you'll be playing against during the year, and it's good to get to know them during on a game of play. You'll be trying to push them and jostle them and everything. Tonight they can go and get to know them personally.
It's a brilliant night, and you're meeting people that you normally meeting on the field, and you get a chance to socialise and have a drink or whatever with them, and there's good banter, and there's good camaraderie between the players and all.
It's lovely to win a medal, but for somebody that doesn't win an All-Ireland medal, only one team can win. For the other counties involved, it's lovely for the other players to come in and to have a night like this, to meet the players that you played against, and you don't have to win the All-Ireland to win an All-Star, and that's the main thing really about tonight.
I suppose everyone was probably wondering how many All-Stars Kerry would get, and I think Kerry are delighted with the 6 All-Stars they got. I suppose there's always be talking points, but it's capped off a great year for Kerry, and we're delighted with the finish off the year in style.
You're welcome indeed to the Burlington Hotel in Dublin, and a very special night of celebration in Gaelic Games. It's the 30th anniversary of the GAA All Stars, and the night on which we honour the current stars of hurling and football. Well, yes, we're here tonight for this gala occasion as guests of the current sponsors Aircel to make the awards presentation to the 15 best footballers and hurlers of the past 12 months. Now, this is an award scheme which is now very much part and parcel of the GAA year. But back in 1971, well, it was all very much a new dimension to the association's activities. 30 years ago, the first men to walk on stage and accept the initial award in hurling and football were Damien Martin, Offaly's outstanding goalkeeper of the decade, and PJ Smith, whose efforts between the posts for Galway helped them to the Connacht title and to the All-Ireland final. Well, tonight, as I said, we're here to honour the current All-Stars and also to make the presentation to the players of the year in football and hurling, as well as to the young players of the year. Now, I would like you at this point to welcome our presentation party onto the stage. They are Tara Delaney, and she is the Director of Communications with our hosts Aircel. Also to Sean McCaig in the role of Uachtaráin Cumann Luchlas Gael for the first time at these awards. And also we would like you to give a very special welcome to our guest of honour here this evening, who himself is celebrating a half a century, would you believe, of broadcasting our games to the nation. That's my colleague in RTE, Micheál Muragharty. Well, now indeed, let's hear from the great man himself as he talks to another great commentator, to Ger Canning.
Thank you very much indeed, Michael. The only difference is, in the words of Muhammad Ali, this man is the greatest. When did it all start for you? I mean, Jimmy Meagher used to say that he used to do these imaginary commentaries when he was 6 or 7 in the back garden. Was that the same for you?
Well, Jimmy was born talking. I was a slow developer. I didn't talk for a good number of years, Jeff. Near a vein kind to them.
You've made up for it. Favourite hurlers, favourite footballers, favourite matches over the years that you've commentated on?
Well, they've all been excellent, and there are some of them here tonight. I'd say as good as I ever saw. We had one of them on the stage already, Seamus Moynihan of Kerry. We might, I know he's here in the hall, and he might pick up an award, DJ Carey, Nílisagum Gaffón. As good as you'd get anywhere. It's a privilege and a pleasure to talk about the likes of those on any field of play any time of year.
Absolutely. And of course, you've commentated on so many exciting matches over the 50 years. Just remind me of one or two that really stay in your mind.
Well, somehow the hurling games always come to mind. I think of great games going back to the 60s and the 70s between Kilkenny and Wexford. Think of games in the 80s between Tipperary and Cork. And when it comes to football, There's something special when Meath go out to play football, especially against Dublin. You can feel the excitement. The same when Kerry are playing Dublin or playing Cork. Tá siad go léir go húnta agus is imróí den sco gacha an duine go ó hirí go dtí Aintrim agus ó gún an all the way down to Wexford.
And Micheál, I'm sure you never were, but were you actually ever stuck for a word?
I was, but I still forget the word.
The GAA's most popular broadcaster and thorough gentleman, Micheál O'Murray. Congratulations to you.
May we all look as well and as healthy after 50 years of broadcasting, Micheál. Well, now indeed, there's plenty to look forward to during the course of tonight's programme. But before that, though, let's look back at some of the other stories that made the news throughout the year in Gaelic Games.
Mid-April in Galway, and one era ends, another begins. Sean McCaig from Monaghan becomes the new GAA president, taking over from Joe McDonough. Right throughout the summer, Croke Park began to take fuller shape, making it into one of Europe's finest sports stadia. It was a long campaign in Camogie, but early September and Tipperary take the O'Duffy Cup following a sparkling win against Cork. Who said it was a man's game? The women's Gaelic football final was tough and uncompromising, Mayo getting there against Waterford, just, and retaining their title. The Australians came to Dublin in October to win the first test against Ireland, their first win in 2 years and an 8 points victory. But they really made their mark 7 days later with a 68-51 victory. At least look on the bright side. Ireland won't be facing Jason Ackermanis next year. He's got a 2-match ban.
Well, now at this point, we've almost come to the naming of our Aircel Hurling All-Stars for 2000. The football selection, as you know, was revealed yesterday. The hurling selection kept secret until tonight, so naturally there's a great air of expectation around the hall. Now, let me just tell you how the naming of the hurling team is actually going to work. We're going to reveal the first 7 places on the team, that's up to left half back, and then, and just to keep you in suspense, we're going to move to the football presentation before revealing the rest of this year's hurling team, and that's a little bit later on. Can you follow all of that? But now, let's just remind ourselves of who was nominated for these positions.
3 goalkeepers are nominated: Galway's Michael Crimmins, Kilkenny's James McGarry and Tipperary's Brendan Cummins. 4 defenders are nominated from Cork: Brian Corcoran, Sean O'Halpine, Diarmuid O'Sullivan and Fergal Ryan. 3 from Galway: Finbar Gantley, Liam Hodgkins and Cathal Moore. 6 from Kilkenny: Peter Barry, Noel Hickey, Michael Kavanagh, Eamon Kennedy, Philly Larkin and Willie O'Connor. 1 from Limerick: Mark Foley. 1 from Offaly: Simon Whelan. 3 from Tipperary: John Carroll, Eamon Corcoran and Philly Marr.
Well, those then are the nominees for the first 7 places on the Aircel All-Stars hurling team. Now, before we name the winners, let's first again give ourselves a reminder of some of the highlights of the hurling year.
The hurling championship began in earnest with Tipperary against Waterford. Ken McGrath scored 3 points and gave the Daisha hope, but then he went off injured.
That's a hit by Johnny Brown. Ken McGrath going to shake off the effects of the injury earlier on. Getting by for the bar, putting it up the bar. Great score. Corcoran inside towards Tucker. Broken down, picked up here by Mark O'Leary, one of the newcomers. That's beautifully on its way, and that's over the bar.
It took 2 well-timed goals, twice as many as they managed during their championship-winning run last year, to allow Cork to subdue Limerick.
Mickey O'Connell, hand-passing it out as far as Neil Ronan. Pressure there on Stephen Lucy, and they come in, and McGrath's got it, and McGrath's got the opening goal of the match. Sean O'Halpine, what a catch, what a delivery, down to Joe Dean, there's a chance, and he's got it, and it is an absolutely brilliant goal. You will hardly see a better goal this year.
1 week on,
and Tip were bursting for success against old rivals Clare, the latter's customary passion being insufficient for once, and the Premier men won by 8 points.
There's John Larry feeding it outside beautifully to Eamon Corcoran. Big one in towards Shelley against Lowen, bounces off the goalkeeper's chest. Helmet spin, it's taken off the line, or is it? It's over the line. The goal has been given to Tipperary.
Some things never change, and Offaly and Wexford were meeting yet again in the semi-final of the Leinster Championship. This time 41,000 people saw the Slaney-siders turned over emphatically.
Michael Dykeman, he's had a quiet afternoon for Offaly, but gone through a lot of work. Lobs it in towards Erity. O'Erity's got it, a great chance to seal it now! Goal for Offaly and for Joe Erity.
In the Munster final, Tip got the goals. Cork took their points, but in the end, only 2 between them.
Up towards Shelley, lovely break of the ball to Tommy Dunn. Tommy's now in right half forward. Wayne Sherlock's after him. Brilliant shot. Oh, it's sin! Cork want to score of their own to put daylight between them, and McGrath strikes it. That's a bit more like the dream he'd have had as a youngster.
Meanwhile, in the Leinster equivalent, it was Kilkenny who broke Offaly's spirits before half-time and went on to win in a canter.
And here comes DJ Carey. DJ flying. Oh, what a goal by DJ Carey! Wonderfully fit players, wonderfully talented hurlers, and Charlie Carter is nipping in, and Charlie has put it into the back of the net.
And so to the quarter-finals, where a very sluggish-looking Offaly team had the greatest of difficulty overcoming the challenge of Ulster champions Derry. With 10 minutes to go, it was looking like the upset of the summer.
When we spoke about the spirit of Derry, we should also talk about the hurling skills and the repertoire of skills by Michael Collins. Colin McGurk breaking away as Brendan Murphy, sneaking inside the cover, going for the goal and getting it.
In the other quarter-final, Galway won in the Championship's Croke Park for the first time in 7 years. Their victims being Tip.
Face of Eugene Clunan. Will he just top it out over the bar? Oh, I think he went for it and he's got it! A goal for Galway! Here's John Larry. Oh, what a dummy! What skill! The magician does it again. Here comes Rabbit, challenged by David Kennedy on his left-hand side. He's hit it accurately this time and he's put it over the bar.
The no-hopers prevailed in the first of the All-Ireland semi-finals, as Offaly this time had the measure of defending champions Cork.
Derek Barrett touches it down, but only as far as Johnny Pilkington, and Pilkington from a huge distance out has put it over the bar, and Offaly have the lead. Timmy McCarthy's after it, late chance perhaps for the rebel county. Knocking it back to Joe Dean, ever the danger man. Couple of Offaly players trying to dispossess him, but even Joe Dean, from an impossible angle, still manages to get it beautifully over the crossbar and between the posts and make it 12 points to 10. Going forward once again, out to Pilkington, on for Johnny Dooley. They should take a point here, and they do.
Kilkenny were superior to Galway in the second semi-final, even though the tribesmen were a point ahead at half-time.
Huge one up towards DJ Carey. Always good for a goal. He's got a winner. DJ Carey.
Tell me he's not a genius.
Just the point in it. Kilkenny leading. Here's Dennis Byrne. That looks to be right on target and is. Great score by Dennis Byrne.
In the final, Kilkenny simply mesmerised Offaly and the viewing public. No way were Kilkenny going to lose 3 in a row, and from a very early stage it became clear that this was not 1998 revisited.
In towards Henry Shepard, 3 against 2 in there. Jockey fumble, DJ's on his way. DJ Carey, great goal. Chris Brennan, the army man. It's a huge one down towards Henry Shefflin. Can they get another one here? Henry's in and Henry has scored.
Wonderful memories indeed. Great characters, fabulous skill around the hurling fields of Ireland. But let's be analytical. Was this a great year? Joining me now is our Sunday game analyst, Cyril Farrell. Was it a great year for hurling?
Well, I suppose around the country, with the last 3 years being so high, the standard being fantastic. This year, I suppose, people have been expecting great things. And a lot of people would say it fell a small bit flat, but like Derry's performance in Croke Park was fantastic. Tip took Clare off their back, and I think like Kilkenny will go on to be a great team. I expect them to win a few more. And when it's all said and done, Marty, in about 30 years' time, when people look back, and I might talk about the Christy Rings and the Mick Mackeys, DJ Carey's goals have been out of this world. It's only in time to come when they look back on it that to realise the genius that he is.
Indeed. Richly deserved compliment. I have to ask you, as a Galway man, do you now have the dream team in place with Noel Lane, John Connolly, and of course the famous Mike McNamara?
Yeah, well, if All Ireland medals go win titles, like Noel and John would have a few between them, and Mike Mack has trained Clare very successfully, and also they hope to put it right. But like, I think it's going to take a great team to knock Kilkenny, because they have been there for 2 or 3 years, got it right this year, and I can't see anything knocking them from next year. I expect them to win at least 2 in a row.
So Kilkenny for the All Ireland 2001.
If you're a betting man, you'd back them now, Marty.
Cyril Farrell, thank you very much indeed. Back to Michael.
Thank you, Marty Morrissey. Right then, and without further ado, let's reveal the first 7 hurling winners. And on stage with me to make the presentations, we still have Tara Delaney, Sean McCaig and Micheál Murray-Herty. And we're going to begin, of course, with goalkeeper. Well, now the award here goes to a player who is always reliable, but this year was particularly brilliant, even when bloodied and bandaged. Brendan Cummins of Tipperary.
In a season of outstanding goalkeeping, this man was in a class of his own. For his consistency and bravery in producing a string of important saves, the All-Star goalkeeper for 2000 is Tipperary's Brendan Cummins.
Now named in the right full-back position is a player who came into his county's defence this year, but he played like a veteran. That's Kilkenny's Noel Hickey.
Noel burst onto the Kilkenny team this year and grew enormously in stature as the summer progressed. Made his name at full-back, but the selection panel believed he was clearly one of the best six-backs in the country this year. Was worthy of inclusion at right corner. This is Noel Hickey's first All-Star.
The fullback award goes to a player who never gives less than 100% of wholehearted commitments. That's Jim O'Sullivan of Cork.
Winning his second All-Star, Diarmuid O'Sullivan and Cloynes. A wonderful player. Cloyne Clubman has been a model of consistency in a roller coaster season for Cork. A commanding figure who dominates the edge of the square. O'Sullivan's power and composure was central to the Rebels' Munster's title success.
Left full-back is a player, well, he's been plying his trade for a few years now, but this year proved that some things just improve with age. Kilkenny's Willie O'Connor.
Willie O'Connor was an inspirational captain as Kilkenny powered their way to a glory All-Ireland title. O'Connor's leadership qualities and hurling skills were much in evidence throughout the championship season. Constant force in the Kilkenny defensive setup since the early 90s. This is Willie O'Connor's 4th All-Star.
At right half-back and winning the second award for the county here tonight, but his first. Congratulate Tipperary's John Carroll.
In the great tradition of strong, bustling Tipperary half-backs, John Carroll emerged as a player of great influence this year. Powerful under the high ball, determined going forward, and never flinching in the tackle. John had an inspirational role in all of Tipperary's big days. This, as Michael said, is his first All-Star.
Well, now there were some excellent performances at centre half-back in this year's hurling campaign, but when the selectors came to make their choice, one man had overwhelming support. Eamon Kennedy of Kilkenny.
In his very first season in the team, Eamon quietly established himself as a centre-back of quality and was remarkably consistent throughout the campaign. Strong and defendable, his performances were crucial in Kilkenny's quest for Leinster and All-Ireland glory. First season with Kilkenny, first All-Star. Remarkable.
Now, the last of the hurling awards in this section of the programme, and filling the left half-back position is another Kilkenny man, that's Peter Barry.
From first ball to last, his heroic contributions in defence were a key feature in his team's march to glory. Across the half-back line, he was a troubleshooter supreme, but it was at left half-back where he proved untouchable. Winning his second All-Star, Kilkenny's Peter Barry.
Okay, at this point we're halfway there. Congratulations to our first 7 hurling recipients. Now that is also our cue to take a short break, but coming up in part 2 of the programme, it's the second part of the hurling selection. We also have the football award winners, plus the players of the year and the young players of the year in both football and hurling. So do please stay with us. And you're very welcome back again to our GAA All Stars Awards banquet. Now, before the break, we saw the first 7 names revealed on this year's hurling team. The rest of the hurling selection later on. But in the meantime, we'll be making the presentation to this year's football team, which was announced yesterday. Now, that in a moment. That's after we hear again from Gerard Canning. This time he's speaking to An Tuachtarán Cumann Luachla Scale, Sean McCaig, and also to Aircell's Director of Communications, Tara Delaney.
You're both very welcome indeed. That's a heck of a title, Tara. Director of Communications with a business like Aircell. And it's been a marvellous marriage between the GAA All-Star scheme and Aircell.
It has. It's been absolutely wonderful, and long may it last, Ger.
Keep pouring the money in, will you? What about hurling and football? What's your favourite game? Or maybe it's camogie?
No, I think I tried camogie my first year in school, broke my ankle, and that was the end of that. I'd say it's probably hurling, actually. Just the speed of the sport. Well worth watching.
When you broke your ankle, what happened to the other player?
She spent a couple of weeks in detention.
And when you go to Croke Park, are you a passive kind of spectator? Who do you cheer for?
Well, I'm a dub myself, but with a father from Kilkenny and a mother from Offaly, you always had to be very careful about who you cheered for, and Dad used to kind of lump us in the back of the seat with the gold and the yellow and the white of Offaly sticking on our heads, only to turn us around the corner and put on the black and the gold of Kilkenny. So they're both probably watching tonight, so I'm not going to say who's my true support.
Bet not. Sean, it's been a great year for you. It's your first year as GAA President. What have been the highs?
Well, the highlights for me, sorry, Ger.
Well, Fred will do if you like, you know. I'll go home now if you don't mind.
Sorry, Ger. The highlight for me basically is not being able to remember people's names. The wonderful skills in the championship games this year, the wonderful scoring feats of DJ, the wonderful finish, Tomas Dunn's goal, the consistency of Johnny Dooley. There were so many wonderful moments in hurling this year. I don't think I'll ever forget those. The football championship and the replay in the semi-final and final, the consistency of Kerry and the inconsistency of Kerry, all in the same year. I thought it was a very good game. The games this year were very good, and I also think that the level of commitment of the people that I met at club level, at county level, the time and energy they give to the association and the friendships that I made, that's the enduring memory for me.
Now, Joe, as we know, the Christmas is coming and the goose is about to do a runner. When Santa comes down that little chimney, what's your wish for the year 2001 for the GAA?
I think my wish from Santa Claus would be fuel to give us the energy to take on the challenges that are there, the wonderful opportunities are there for the association to continue to keep us the vibrant association that we are. And I think that would be my wish for next year, that we can all renew ourselves to ensure that we achieve the things that we see that need achieving within the association.
Good luck to you. Sean McCaig, Tuachtarán Cumann Luachla Scale, and Tara Delaney. Thank you very much.
Okay, Sean McCaig and Tara Delaney there talking to Marty Morrissey. Now, Next here on the programme, we're going to turn our attention to the footballers. It was another year in which draws and replays were a feature of the major fixtures, from the National League final right through to the deciding of this year's championship. Not on a Sunday in September, but on a Saturday in October.
The football championship began on a high for Antrim. 18 years of bitter disappointment blown away in one afternoon at Casement Park. Antrim beating neighbours Down by 3 points.
A vital kick for Down and for McCarthy. It's saved by McGreevy. He saved it. Is this going to be Antrim's day?
The reigning All-Ireland champions were deemed to be at their most vulnerable in the opening round. The assertion was accurate, as they failed the test against Offaly.
Vinnie Claffey did very well to get away from 3 Meath challenges. The supporters from Finbar Cullen to his right. Claffey on the run, and Claffey sends it over the bar.
You can hold your breaths for 2001, but in June this year, Armagh got the measure of Tyrone by 4 points.
MacDonald. It's a good ball inside. Paddy McKeever wants to come back onto his right foot. MacDonald looking for his second point, and that should seal it now for Armagh.
Again midsummer, and it was the turn of Kerry and Cork to do battle in picturesque Killarney. Kerry were much the better up to half-time. After that, it was largely Cork, but the effort was in vain.
Darrow Kineda. 1 penalty so far, now he's got a second.
The Munster final was a real downer. Kerry swept to victory over Clare.
Oh, that's a terrible ball, intended for Gallagher. And Johnny Crowley is denied momentarily, but will they get the goal? They will. Beautifully in. Johnny Crowley. It's all over.
Same day, and Armagh achieved a notable page in history. They became only the 3rd side in 25 years to retain the Ulster title.
A great catch. On inside, here's a chance, Stephen MacDonald! Oisin McConville drops this in, and over the bar.
There were no surprises whatsoever in the Connacht final, where Galway had by far the measure of Leitrim. In the end, they were 8 points better off.
Number 1 goalkeeper in County Leitrim, facing Derek Savage. Here comes the kick. And Galway are on the rag.
In the Leinster final, there was a draw between Dublin and Kildare in what has been described as a nervy and exciting climax.
That's a good ball forward for Colin Moran. Now Dublin look for the equaliser. Or perhaps a goal. He put it over the bar. And the teams are level.
In about 90 seconds in the second half, Kildare established the platform for a convincing replay victory.
Played ahead once again. Brian Murphy has another chance. Run away from him. Then inside. And Bennon has scored. Tide Bennon. 2 goals in the space of a minute.
In the All-Ireland semi-final, a late Armagh goal paved the way for a second outing.
Will somebody yet be the hero? Like Dermot Marsden. Play back in here. McLeod. He scored!
In truth, by the time we got to the semi-finals of this year's championship, the fair was of a very high standard.
Inside towards Brian Murphy. This time he's got his chance. Still tries to get back outside. Martin Lynch beaten for this one. It's fisted away from him. Coming forward here, Matthew Donald on 101. What an exciting player. What a great score. That Gets his first. The booing once again, ringing in his ears. Joyce steadying himself and getting it inside the right-hand post and putting it over for his 7th of the day and putting Galway a point closer to this year's All-Ireland football final.
It took extra time on a sensational afternoon in early September to determine the outcome between Kerry and Armagh.
There was a bit of a dip in the middle of the first half, an explosive start, an explosive finish as well. And here comes Diarmuid Marsden. McCarthy's chasing after him. They're feeding it in beautifully. McConville! What a goal! O'Shane McConville! Here's Maurice Fitzgerald. Have they now weathered the storm, as it were? Great ball inside. Mike Frank Russell trying to turn. And he's put it in the back of the net. The Master has got a goal and 3 points. Kerry lead. McLeany's somehow keeping it in there. But Liam Hassett sailing forward. Now Darrow Kineda. This is dangerous. It's Mike Frank Russell. He's got another.
In a high-quality All-Ireland final, Galway came closest to taking the title at the first attempt.
Darrow Kineda taking on Gary Fahey, floating this one in and over the bar. Joyce hits it over the bar. It's been a long journey for Galway. Paul Clancy gives it in towards Derek Savage. Mike McCarthy trying to stop him from having a shot. Savage holds possession. Here comes Porrick Joyce on the overlap. Savage sends it in and Declan O'Keefe saves at the near post.
However, in the replay, while Galway made a promising start, there really was only one team in it.
That's in by Paul Clancy. Here's an opportunity. A goal! Into Mike Frank Russell. Awkward angle for him. He's got Richie Fahey there for company. Trying to get in along the end line. Mike Frank steadying himself. He's a marvellous footballer. He had to really work that one in. Galway hoping to win their own kick-outs, but Maurice Fitzgerald is hugely influential. He's got it again. He set up that point for Hassett. This time fancying his chances, and that one is swung over the bar.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the Aircell Football All-Stars for 2000. The first of our football awards goes to a man who's had a long and indeed busy summer, what with replays and all. But in facing all of the challenges, he marshalled his defence with assurance. That's Declan O'Keefe of Kerry. Now filling the right full back position on this year's All-Stars team is a man who helped Derry to the National League title this year and indeed to many other famous victories in the past. Also a star turn in this year's Ulster Championship winning hurling team, Kieran McKeever. At the full-back position on this year's team and winning his second All-Star Award, one of the real stars of Kerry's All-Ireland triumph, Seamus Moynihan. The left full-back position goes to a man who soldiered alongside our last winner in the Kerry defence, capping a solid championship campaign with an outstanding performance in the All-Ireland final against Galway, Michael McCarthy. Now we move into the half-back line, and here the first award goes to a player who had an outstanding year in the number 5 shirt for Galway, capping it with a memorable goal, of course, in Croke Park. Declan Meehan. The centre half-back slot this year saw no change from the name that filled the position 12 months ago. Indeed, he's the only existing All-Star to retain that honour. That's Armagh's Kieran McGeeney. Well, now the 2000 Championship campaign was another rewarding one for Kildare, bringing them their second Leinster title in 3 years. A key contributor to that success was our left half-back, Anthony Rainbow. Midfield had several worthy contenders this year, but somehow the name of our next recipient always seemed to be to the forefront on any shortlist. From the league-winning Derry side, Anthony Tuchel. The other midfield place also goes to a man from a trophy-winning side. The All-Ireland and Munster crowns might have been harder won, but for the outstanding efforts of Darragh O'Shea. Into the attack now, and that's our cue to go into the West. Winning his second Aircel All-Star and named at right half forward, that's Galway's Michael Donlan. Now, the making of a successful team requires a combination of factors. Consistency from your most reliable players, perhaps a super sub here and there, and maybe a player whose talents have been rediscovered. At centre forward, we have Kerry's Liam Hassett. Left half forward next, and here the award actually goes to a player whose dazzling displays have indeed been crucial to both club and county for well over a year indeed. It's Armagh's Oisin McConville. Into the full forward line now, and here, despite the legitimate claims of others for the number 13 slot, well, in truth, the position was never going to go to anyone else except Kerry's Mike Francis Russell. Well, now, the past 3 years have been memorable ones for Galway football. A long-awaited All-Ireland success, 2 Connacht titles, and a Croke Park saga against Kerry that eventually, of course, went against them. But all that's good about Galway football is embodied in their captain and their full forward, Pádraig Joyce. The last honour on this year's football team again heads west. Galway made a gallant attempt to rekindle the spirit of '98, and no one tried harder for the cause than their little dynamo, Derek Savage. So, ladies and gentlemen, would you congratulate them, please, our Aircel Football All-Stars for the year 2000. Now, once again, our congratulations to our Football All-Stars, and an added bonus for this year's recipients is an enviable trip to Dubai in the new year. Our football winners jet off at the end of January for a special exhibition match that's against the 1999 Aircel All-Stars. And what an event that promises to be. OK, let's go back to Marty Morrissey, who has somebody to talk to.
Thank you very much, Michael. Well, 15 fabulous footballers contributing to what turned out to be a fabulous beginning to the 21st century in terms of football championship.
Yes, I think, Marty, that football suffered by comparison with hurling for the last few years, but this was really football's year. I suppose most people here would understand that football is a much better game than hurling anyway, but this was the year where football really bit back. I think we had some marvellous games, 2 great Leinster finals between Dublin and Kildare, the replays with Kerry and Armagh, and 2 All-Ireland finals with some marvellous scores. Declan Meehan's goal in the All-Ireland final, Mike Frank Russell's goals against Armagh, and that great crossfield pass from Maurice Fitzgerald. And I suppose we rarely had a man who gave such consistently brilliant performances as Seamus Moynihan. Cyril mentioned DJ Carey in hurling. Well, I think that everybody who was in Croke Park this year were privileged to see an absolute great footballer, and as I say, the consistency and the brilliance were just incredible, and it was a joy to behold with that man.
A worthy compliment indeed. 2001, the championship. We're all talking about it. We're anticipating 29 extra games. Who do you think is going to come out victorious at the very end?
Well, Meath, but it should be a great championship for the others. I would think that the All-Ireland quarter-finals is certainly going to add a little bit of colour and flavour. It's going to bring all the big teams back into it again. It's going to be exciting because it's different for a start off. I think it's going to be something that all the players are going to really look forward to, and certainly it's going to be hard to knock Kerry off the perch, because I think they showed a lot of class this year, and in the end the cream always rises to the top, I suppose. Kerry will be hard to beat. Cork won't agree with that though.
Well, thank you very much, Colm O'Rourke, and of course Meath at the tip from Colm O'Rourke for the 2001 championship. Back to you, Michael.
Thank you, Marty. Now we're going to move onwards and upwards and complete our All-Star hurling team for 2000. Now, we've already revealed the names, of course, of the first 7 winners. We're going to carry on from there, and Marty Morrissey is now going to remind us of the players nominated for the positions 8 to 15.
6 players are nominated for 2 midfield positions. Galway's Rory Gantley, Kilkenny's Andy Comerford and Brian McAvoy, Johnny Dooley from Offaly, Tomás Dunn and John Lahey from Tipperary. There are 18 forwards nominated for 6 positions. Joe Dean and Johnny McGrath of Cork, Kieran McKeever of Derry, Galway's Eugene Cloonan, Ollie Fahey, Fergal Healy, Alan Kearns, Joe Rabbit, Kilkenny's Dennis Byrne, Charlie Carter, DJ Carey, John Power and Henry Shefflin, Offaly's Michael Dignan, Gary Hannifey, Johnny Pilkington, Tipperary's Brian O'Mara and Waterford's Ken McGrath.
Well, those are the nominees, but the All-Star selectors had the difficult task, of course, of paring those down to the 8 remaining players who would make the final selection. And this is what we've come up with. In the first of the midfield positions, and filling that number 8 slot, is a player who has been inspirational for his county over the last number of years, but this year was arguably his best. That's Offaly's Johnny Dooley.
Another fabulous year of superbly skilled performances made Dooley a unanimous choice at midfield. Produced exceptional contributions during Offaly's run to the All-Ireland. His proven ability for long-range point-taking again marked him out above the others. This is Johnny Dooley's 3rd All-Star.
The second midfield position goes to a player who was instrumental in his county winning this year's All-Ireland and Leinster titles. Andy Comerford from Kilkenny.
Yes, indeed, Andy Comerford from Kilkenny wins tonight his 2nd All-Star. The engine room at centre field of the All-Ireland champions, a player of wonderful style and substance. His work rate was immense. Fine distributor of possession, and scored a marvellous goal against Galway in the All-Ireland semi-final.
Now into the forwards we go, and in a year of some outstanding performances, this player repeatedly caught the attention of the experts and the pundits alike. Dennis Byrne of Kilkenny.
It's a little surprising, but yes, this is Dennis Byrne's very first All-Star. Quiet but deadly effective, Dennis put together a string of outstanding performances, scoring freely from general play and frees, whether at midfield or attack. Dennis was undoubtedly a major influence in Kilkenny's great year.
Well, now, our next winner has sat beside me in a rally car in the past. Well, we didn't win any major trophies then, but there's a big one for the big man here tonight. That's Athenry and Galway's Joe Rabbit.
7 years ago he won his first All-Star. Tonight it's his second. From Athenry's run to All-Ireland club glory to Galway's National League triumph and their victory over Tipperary in the All-Ireland quarter-final, Joe Rabbit exhibited all the skills and competitiveness that has made him one of the most outstanding players of the modern era.
Now, in a year of some amazing performances in attack, our next winner just had to be included. So we've named him at left half forward, Henry Shefflin of Kilkenny.
Last year was a great year for Henry Shefflin, winning his first All-Star. Tonight he wins the second. Built on the promise of his debut season with another outstanding championship. Henry played most of his hurling at left corner forward this summer, but given his flexibility he was thought to be a worthy award winner at left half forward.
To the full forward line, and what a year it was for the man who stood in the right corner for Kilkenny. An impressive strike rate all through the championship for Charlie Carter.
Tonight, Charlie Carter wins his second All-Star. A stalwart of the Kilkenny team these past few years, Charlie Carter had arguably his most consistent year in the black and amber. A total of 4 goals and 11 points in the championship. Carter more than played his part in an all-conquering attack.
Now, Charlie is Kilkenny's 8th winner here on the night, and in truth, they were always going to have the next one as well, because he punished one hapless defence after another. DJ Carey.
The great DJ Carey wins his 8th All-Star, a remarkable achievement. After a few seasons when people questioned his quality, DJ Carey responded to his critics in style. What a tremendous year, capped by a brilliant All-Ireland performance, when in one superb moment he lifted his own county and virtually deflated the other.
The defending All-Ireland champions were going great guns this year until they bumped into Offaly at Croke Park. Still, one man who did more than his share in Cork's attack this summer was Joe Deane.
After playing a vital role in Cork's All-Ireland triumph from 1999, Joe Deane maintained the same high standard of skillful play and unerring free-taking. He scored a magnificent goal against Limerick, but will be remembered probably best for his first-half performance against Offaly in the All-Ireland semi-final.
Right then, so congratulations, ladies and gentlemen, to all of our hurling recipients. Now, at this point, the Aircel GAA All Stars hurling team for the year of 2000. But we're going to leave them for the moment and move on to the next important awards presentation here at the banquet tonight. That is the Young Players of the Year. And just before we do that, I want to reiterate the point that I was making at the start of the show, which is that this year marks the 30th anniversary of these awards. So at this point then, would you please welcome onto the stage the first ever hurling All-Star recipient, that was goalkeeper Damien Martin of Offaly. And we also have the first man to accept the football award, Galway's netminder of that time, PJ Smith. And these two gentlemen will actually make the presentation of the next two awards. PJ, how are you? Now, the Young Player of the Year in football is a man who this year came into an established and experienced Galway team. However, the area that he was asked to operate in this summer, midfield, was far from settled. Notwithstanding his skills and his enormous potential caught the eye and also helped Galway to the Connacht title, and indeed just a kick of the ball away from the All-Ireland itself. So our Young Player of the Year in football is Joe Bergen from Galway. In hurling, the award goes to a player whose story is not dissimilar to Joe's. The full-back position on the Kilkenny hurling team had given the county selectors a few headaches in recent times, but this summer a young man emerged to fill that position with an assurance and maturity that seemed beyond his years. However, this player has gone a little bit better than Joe because he's claimed an All-Ireland medal and, of course, earlier on tonight, an All Star Award. Congratulate, please, Kilkenny's Noel Hickey. And now let's also thank once again our two former All-Stars who've made the presentations for us, Damien Martin and PJ Smith. Well, now the next award tonight is the Player of the Year in football. Now this award, like the hurling which will follow, is chosen by the country's inter-county players themselves and is based on the monthly Aircel Award Winners scheme. Now, in fact, at the beginning of this year, there was also a special award presentation to Joe McDonagh, the outgoing president of the GAA, and recently to the successful captains in women's GAA, that was Cora Staunton, who led Mayo to a second All-Ireland football title in a row, and also Jovita Delaney, who played a captain and indeed a hero's part in Tipperary, winning the All-Ireland Camogie crown. But the Footballer of the Year, and there seems to be a little bit of a theme going through this. He's a man who was asked to fill the troublesome role of fullback on this year's Kerry team. Now, many felt that his immense talents would be hindered by such a specific brief. However, they hadn't figured on the ability of this player to hold such an influence on any game from any position.
Play by Seamus Moynihan. And Kerry are the champions.
Yes, as it turned out, the full-back position on this year's Kerry team was really no problem at all. Our Footballer of the Year for 2000, Seamus Moynihan. Well, now we come to the Hurler of the Year. Now, there was that famous and much debated Millennium team announced earlier this year. Well, he didn't make it onto that. But as those selectors watched his performances again this summer, their hearts must have sank. Gentlemen, he is the ultimate hitman, and we mean that in the nicest possible way. The name is Carey, DJ Carey. And as we congratulate DJ, we would also ask you at this point to congratulate all of our winners here tonight, our Players of the Year, our Young Players of the Year, and of course our Aircel Hurling and Football Award winners for 2000. Well, on that note, I'm afraid that we must leave you. But naturally, the sport continues here on RTE television right up to and indeed through the holiday season. Tomorrow, you can see live AIB rugby, that's St Mary's and Young Munster, plus the Premiership later on in the evening. While on Sunday Sport, that has soccer and GAA action for you. However, that's the end of this transmission from the Burlington Hotel. Now we're going to raise a glass or two here afterwards to all of our award winners. But I would just like to wish you a good weekend and indeed a safe one on the roads too. Till the next time, bye-bye.